again, welcome back. We're now going to the top 10 morally reprehensible 1950s films. So we're going our way back now. We're getting there. You know, we've still got quite a few decades to go, but we're getting there. We're going back. So this time I'll start number 10, but it's one of those things I thought there won't be that much in the 50s. Then you quite was looking at 50s films released, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot. It just looked like it was wholesome. It really wasn't wholesome. This is a era film noir and a whole bunch of stuff. So as you'll see, there was a lot of darkness in the 50s after the war that was repressed, but was going through the films. Okay, number 10. Like, I actually managed to avoid any Sam Fuller films here, which was almost like a tactic of trying to... Because all his films are neurotic in the 50s and 60s. So I avoided them, but just mainly because I think he should just have his own little, like, shrine and a series. Like, we're not putting Sam Fuller films in here because it seems too obvious. So I think you should assume a shrine whenever Sam Fuller made films that it's acknowledged. I just think the whole oeuvre is like that. It's kind of like David Cronenberg in a way. It's like you should assume that they should always be there. I've covered a few Cronenberg films, I couldn't avoid them, but it's that kind of same thing. So number 10 is Curse of Frankenstein, which is the first Hammer horror, which got hated by the British press for all the violence and gore. It's very tame now, of course, but then it was viewed as absolutely disgusting, and how dare all those people go and watch the film and enjoy it and start, oh my god, they had Dracula next and the Mummy and all this stuff, and it's like, the British should be better than this. Yeah, and Hammer was counting the money at the same time while they were all complaining, because this is Terence Fisher's film where Peter Cushing is a completely amoral Baron Frankenstein, who's wonderful. I mean, the thing is, the American films, the Frankenstein films, they just had, you know, Frankenstein monster as the continuing character. Hammer had Frankenstein, the character, and having different monsters, which worked a lot better, especially with Peter Cushing, because he's just wonderful to watch as playing a guy who is a bit dodgy, is the best way to put it. So that's the first one with Christopher Lee as a monster. And he's fairly disposable as a monster in a sense, because Cushing doesn't care a damn about him. He's just there for it to be an experiment, and Cushing doesn't care about his pain at all. He's just there to prove a point he can do it, which is part of the fun of the film. Is like, you know, it's like Peter Cushing is the worst father in the world in this film. He's just horrible, and it's wonderfully reprehensible how awful the creature is treated, and how, you know, Cushing is fine with murder to do his own thing. He's just great. It's just a blast, and it's wonderfully reprehensible, and the British critics thought the world was ending because of this film. Just great. So number 9 we have Touch of Evil, which is the Orson Welles film that, you know, another studio film where Orson Welles got chucked out of it after he shot the film when it was too weird for everybody. And you know, there's been reconstruction. The reconstructions made the film a lot better, to be honest. I mean, when I first saw Touch of Evil in the studio version, I thought it was good, but not, because you heard how great it was. You see the film and it was like, yeah, it's good, but there's obviously some problems. And then you see the reconstructed version from Orson Welles' notes, and it's like, oh, this is much better. This is much more like what I was wanting. And it's just taking little things out and pacing it differently, but it really worked. But also, this film just has a sense of, like, the cops are evil in this one. Well, at least one cop is, the one played Orson Welles. There's just a sense of horror below the surface, of politeness, of what is a no-nonsense, you know, world. Sort of a no-nonsense studio getting absolutely corrupted by Orson Welles and his weird ideas and his weird actors and how he lets actors do strange things. And it's almost like an assault on the studio system just by a director with a sense of humour. And it's just this, it's the most anti-1950s film we could possibly think of, apart from all the rest of them in this list. And it's just wonderful, but it's just like, it's kind of like the start of where the world was going. It was the thing that was leading on to Psycho and the 60s films like Night of the Living Dead. This sense of the world just been corrotted to the core. And everything what you'd really see in the 50s and 60s, this sense of a world where the older generation was trying to hold on to this world, this polite world they'd built up, and this newer generation of people, everything had gone rotten and everything was corrupted, and it was just wonderful for movies, but not so good to live in. So that's Touch of Evil. Number 8 is The Searchers, which is taking horror to the Western, which you can do it, but not very often, not in the 50s, but John Ford, in one of the few films I like of his, because I'm not particularly a John Ford fan, I think he's way too sentimental and avoiding a lot of stuff. Here he actually has a lead character who's a racist, who's hunting the Indians down because they killed his family, and then you start to see he hasn't really got over it, and his view of the Indians is rotten, and it's tied to him in the Civil War when he was in the South and they lost, and it's just like a guy who's really bitter, and instead of taking John Wayne and making him this brutal, nasty thing, and showing the kind of nasty stuff that was hiding under the bedrock of American society at the time. So that's one of the key films showing you, like, not everything's alright here. Like, everything you were hoping we'd avoid talking about is in this film, and it's like, and I think this is the film that why John Ford still has a reputation, because I think if it wasn't for this and a few others, his films would be forgotten, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't think is that good, or it's flawed, or it's very flawed, but this is the one that really delivered. So that's number 8. Number 7 is Ace in the Hole, the Billy Wilder film with Kirk Douglas as an amoral reporter, showing you how corrupt the press was, and beyond how everyone's trying to be decent in 50s America, how it shows you how they're all out to make money, to make a reputation, to be like, I'm going to change, I forgot one. I actually forgot an important film. I just realised. Anyway, back to this Ace in the Hole. Right, basically, it's the sense is that below the surface of small town values and decency, there's a nastiness in the press, a nastiness in what we want from the press. We want the exciting stuff. It's like, show us that stuff now. Make it exciting. Make this horrible life exciting for us. We'll be as immoral as possible as reporters and as viewers and readers. We just want the interesting stuff, and it's like how far that kind of obsession of finding something outside of the boredom of traditional nice life can go. So it's reprehensible, because it's like the thing you say you want from this society isn't really what you want from this society. So there we go. And number 6 is Some Like It Hot, another Billy Wilder film. Solid everyone's going to love this. About 2 Billy Wilder films in this list. So Some Like It Hot is obviously Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis cross-dressing, and as they're on the run from a massacre, and they have to act as if they're women in this band and this train to escape the criminals trying to hunt them down. And it's kind of the idea of ambiguity of gender. It's not quite. It's a bit more fluid than you think it is, and it's much stranger than you think it is. And it's just bringing this up, like before Psycho, because Psycho just did it as a horror movie. This did it as a much more amused look at what we think of ourselves and what we think of our traditional values and our traditional normalcy, and this was just having a laugh at it. So this was a fun film that people actually liked, because I think everyone got it. It wasn't like pushing your face, but it was also just a little bit of humour at your own expense, and I think people got it because of the way it was done. It was like you don't have to be confrontational, but people can get it and still have some laughs with it. So this was reprehensible in a funny way. Ace in the Hole was much more brutal. But this one was a bit more insidious in a way, because it was like, yeah, everything's fine here. And it was like, insidious to the idea of the pure American culture of the 50s, and everything's great and everything's traditional. And it's like, we'll give you some of these ideas and we'll make you like them. And then we'll see what happens in the 60s and make you really uncomfortable. So there's that. Number 5, we've got Anatomy of a Murder, which is an Otto Preminger film about a court case, stars James Stewart, and that whole idea was to look at it about how the criminal system works, and how even defence attorneys have all the tricks, and how the prosecution has the tricks, and how the whole thing is really much more. It's far less to do with the traditional sentimentality you get in a lot of films, like, we're out for justice. No, this is much more. This is a job. We're going to get this guy off because it's a job. We're going to attack him because that's our job. And this is taking a look at the justice system in a very different way, and actually bringing up just like women's underwear and things as part of the court case, which was not what you were meant to do in the 50s, and just slowly breaking down some of the repression that we had in that time. Oh, not me, I wasn't even born then, but there was definitely repression going on there. Okay, now number 4, we've got Paths of Glory, the Stanley Kubrick film. And this was reprehensible in France because it pointed at all the war crime stuff that happened in World War One, which they were not very comfortable with. It's also uncomfortable now as well, because it just shows you it's all about military justice and how it's tied to the insanity and the ambitions of the people in charge, that has no care for the people who have to fight the war. The war is like a machine, and it's like, you lot do this, you lot do that. I'm going to force you to do this because I want a promotion. And if you fail me, I'll give you an impossible task. I will make your life a hell. It's all the class system within the military, and how insidious and nasty it can be. So it's something that no one wants to look at, but it's something Kubrick was always about. I mean, we look at this. If you look at Dr. Strangelove, which is a kind of a class look at nuclear mutual assured defence, how it's all about the different areas of control and different areas of who has control and how crazy they've gone. And you look at Full Metal Jacket, it still has that same sense of class and who has control of how things are done and how things are said and what our beliefs are going to be, and how the people don't really like that, like in the working class areas of the army. Even like Barry Lyndon has the same sense of military and avoiding the military and the various classes systems of how humanity brings itself together and organises. Like, Kubrick was all about that. And Paths of Glory is just the most brutal thing of these 3 guys are going to get killed because of, you know, just what the military wants and how complicated it is, and how no matter how high you go up, there's no system, there's nobody in any system who's actually any better than the scumbag you're fighting against. So it's completely cynical, and it takes apart the 50s sense of, oh, we know what we're doing. This is like, no one does. The military is a total cesspool in many ways, which has never really changed. It's just the way people work. So Paths of Glory is just wonderful. Number 3 is A Sweet Smell of Success. This is the one I forgot. And a different film in here, and then I realised I didn't have Sweet Smell of Success. How do I not have Sweet Smell of Success? This is Alexander McKendrick's film, Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis again. Man, he was really reprehensible this year, wasn't he? And it's about the press, and again about the press and how they destroy lives. And so that's a bit of gossip columnist, and Tony Curtis is a guy who's a publicist trying to get in with Hunsaker, who's the guy who's in charge of all of the flow of information in the 50s, and he's all powerful, and it's about just the nastiness of human beings as they try and survive in an industry that, again, there's a infrastructure to that. You can only go so high up unless someone else wants you to go any higher. So I mean, one of the things about the 50s is a build about where you live in society, all these reprehensible films. It's like, where are you in society? Where are you positioned? Like, what can you do and how can you get up? And what's the damage done to you to get up in this society? This is a wonderful film, very cynical, very dark. And now I really need to rewatch it. I'm suddenly thinking, I haven't watched that for a while. I need to watch it. I really need to watch it. So, number 2 is Night of the Hunter. The Charles Lawton's only film, starring Robert Mitchum. Again, this is wonderful. And it is about Robert Mitchum, as most Robert Mitchum, in the sense of he's played someone who's horrible and he's fascinating. And he's hunting down children for money and killing people during this very fairy tale-like structure. And it's black and white, and it goes against all the sense of purity of the 50s. It's just like, this is a living nightmare where your children get hunted down by this psycho, and society doesn't care as long as it gets us cut, basically. It doesn't care. They're off somewhere. We don't care about that stuff. We say we care about children, but we don't really. They can survive on their own. We don't care if this psycho's after them for money. It doesn't matter. Again, it's just this thing of how rotten society actually is compared to how America thought it was at the time. And just the darkness, all the repression seems to be like in this film. Everyone's repressed. Even more than Touch of Evil, this film, because this film is less melodramatic about it. You just get a sense of everyday evil, even though this is stylized to hell. You get a sense of it's much more like, of course, this is how it happens. This is just life. This is the way life happens. Children are stepped on all the time. Adults are horrible all the time. And yes, they're saved at the end, but there's just a sense of rottenness in the core of society just in this film. And now we go to number 1, which is Vertigo. One of Hitchcock's best films, one of the creepy films. It's all about how we watch. It's kind of like the part 1 is this, and part 2 is Peeping Tom. That's pretty much okay. Those 2 films pretty much show we're all psychos. We're all nutcases. We all want things that correspond to how we want them, not how they exist. You know, this is where James Stewart falls in love with a woman. She dies, then he sees another woman who's just like her, and then he makes her up to look like the first woman. It turns out she was the first woman, but she was a construct already to make him fall in love with her. So that whole idea was a bit, if you can construct someone to if a person you fall in love with can be constructed, what's love and what you want in people, what you need in people. And it's all about the kind of horror of the dark side of what love can be if your idea of it is very much based on what you need, not what other people need. If your idea of love is unhealthy and voyeuristic and based on imagery only, or based on a sense of what people say to you to make you feel comfortable, you're in a living hell, and you kind of have to get out of that system. And it's something everyone does. It's a part of human nature, which makes it more creepy. It's like, is the reprehensible part of how we see other people and what we want from them. And it's just a wonderful film. I mean, the fact that Hitchcock made it was amazing, because to me, he tended to be a bit more facile as a director. I always thought those other directors were much more nuanced than Hitchcock, but this one was like, he kind of let the demons out a little bit. So that's my top 10 morally reprehensible movies. The one I threw out because I just realised I'd forgotten Sweet Smell Success was the Mickey Spillane adaptation, and I've now forgotten the title, Kiss Me Deadly. That was one I threw out. It's also wonderful. Definitely go and see it. But yeah, I threw that one out after I realised I've forgotten Sweet Smell Success, which was even more reprehensible than Kiss Me Deadly. So I hope you enjoyed the list. I'll be back with another video soon, and that's me for now. Right, bye.